The Indian banking landscape is seeing a massive transition with the advent of financial inclusion through RBI. As the government shifts focus towards cashless society, pretty much evident from government demonetization and digital India schemes, it also pushes a bouquet of digital payment options in the form of schemes, apps, and services like small savings account, agency banking channel, Aadhaar number, UPI payments, and Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. Now, though the journey has just begun, it may be wise for the banks and regulators to think of ways to tackle automation to MSMEs and the rural areas. Technology, a decade and a half ago, changed the landscape of banking in India and is again set to revolutionize the entire process of financial inclusion. And this time, AI will augment the idea. Joining us today is Adhil Shetty, CEO of BankBazaar, to talk how AI will give rise to smart financial decision making in India. Hi, Adhil, how are you doing?
Good morning. Excited to be on the show. So looking forward to a great discussion.
Likewise, pretty much like a warm welcome to our podcast today. And of course, we are going to talk a lot about smart financial decision making in India. And let's get started without wasting any much time and try to understand initially more about Bank Bazaar. I'm sure our listeners have heard about the company name, but we would like to know more about the company Bank Bazaar from you, its specialization, and alongside that, we would also like to know more about you, Adil. How has your journey been till date? And, what exactly is your role at the company today?
Absolutely. So maybe let me just start by telling you a bit more about Bank Bazaar, and then I'll tell you a bit more about myself. So Bank Bazaar helps consumers like you and me connect with the banks paperlessly for co-branded credit cards, credit scores, and loans. So imagine one neutral portal that can get you information across 50 different banks and multiple NBFCs, and also make sure that once you decide which credit card you want or which loan you want will automate the entire process and make it customized for you by recommending or giving you the product which most resonates with your credit risk and your credit score. And the entire transaction is completely paperless. You don't have to meet the bank. You don't have to submit a piece of paper to the bank. Everything is done digitally using AI, including your verification, your Aadhaar, your underwriting, and your validations and approval. So this is what BankBazaar does. We have over 70 million registered users on the platform. The primary means through which people find out about us is they use us to track their credit score. And then we give them inputs and tips in terms of how to improve their credit score. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm the CEO of the company. I spend a lot of time thinking about how we're going to adapt and be flexible as a company for the new wave of AI that's sweeping through the world. So how are financial transactions going to look like 2 years from now? What are the expectations from consumers in terms of how they want to get their financial products? And how can AI create a better experience for the consumer than what they currently have or used to have 6 months ago? So as a business professional, I'm in touch with all the banks in the NBFCs via industry bodies. I engage with the regulatory authorities. We give feedback on what's working well in the real life scenario, what needs to be simplified. And the end goal is, how can India benefit from making better use of paperless technology?
Thank you, Adil. That's a fascinating overview. And I'm really glad to understand the scope of what Bank Bazaar is doing and also the clarity of purpose behind it. And the way you have positioned your specialization highlights how the company is not just participating in the industry, but also actively shaping its direction. Now, this gives us a great foundation to build on, and let's dive a little deeper into how all of this translates into the broader industry context. Now, when you talk about India, India's financial services today are going fully digital. It's pushing firms to rethink how they operate now and also what the future holds. Technology, innovation, changing customer needs, and even supportive regulations are reshaping banking, insurance, wealth management, and more. In fact, the financial sector is set to nearly double profits by 2030, growing at 16% a year, as per a report by IBEF. Again, retail credit, payments, insurance are all driving this growth as rising incomes boost demand. So, while it has been digitized over the past decade, how do you think artificial intelligence is now transforming the next stage of financial decision making?
Great question, right? So let me first maybe recap what has happened in the last decade, and then I'll talk about why we can't rest on those achievements or those laurels, and we need to be thinking about what next, right, for the coming 5 years, and why artificial intelligence is key to that. So, like you rightly pointed out, I think the last decade has seen a lot of innovation come out of India. One key metric, we always use is the number of digital payments in India is far, far higher, right? Probably 3x combined of what we see in the US, the UK, and Japan all put together. And this is, a tremendous innovation that's happened in UPI. There's been a lot of innovation in terms of KYC too. So starting COVID, we moved to a video KYC regime. So prior to that, I had to come to your house and meet you to make sure that you were a real person, living person, verify your identity, collect some forms. Literally, I had to come to your house to do this before COVID. But, starting January of 2020, the RBI made a video KYC regime. So in video KYC, I do the same thing, but instead of collecting a physical PAN, I can ask you to show your PAN on the call, or I can do a electronic Aadhaar. And without coming to your house, but just sitting in Chennai, for example, I can do a video KYC as a bank officer in 20,000 PIN code. So that was a real innovation. We built a DigiLocker system. I can submit my bank statement to any bank I'm applying to from a different savings bank. So all these are really innovations, right? But when you look at it, this industry is changing very, very quickly. Even things which I would not have thought possible a year ago, right? Today are eminently possible, and the world is moving very fast, right? So everything India did in Aadhaar, in UPI, I think the world is copying. Good for them, and they will catch up. So now the question is, what is India's next plan for the next decade, right? And I like to call this Digital India 2.0, very similar to what we did with GST 2.0, right? What are the next steps that we can take to go to the next level? And on this, let me focus on two aspects. So the first aspect I want to focus on just is how do we move our policy forward, right? And a very, very nice example is video KYC. So today, a bank officer has to watch every KYC to verify identity and to verify liveliness. But, all of us fly, and in DigiYatra, there is a machine which in 1 second can establish that I am Adil and I'm alive and I'm walking into the airport. So why do you need a bank officer during working hours to watch and establish this in a video KYC? So how do we now move to the next stage of policy regulation such that using Aadhaar, using identity verification online, liveliness verification, which is all very straightforward, both using AI or without AI, but how do we move to a agentless video KYC system, and how does the regulation support it? Because the limitation is not tech. The limitation is what does the regulation rightly say now, and how do we take care of the risk but move regulation and policy forward into the new world? That's one area we need to move ahead. The second, right, is AI is completely changing the kind of service we can offer a consumer. I'll just give you a real BankBazaar example. So previously, right, without AI, you can maybe, and you create podcasts, right? So maybe you can create 2 podcasts, 5 podcasts, 10 videos a month, because every of these videos, every of these podcasts has to be curated, right? So much thought goes into what do I want to discuss, who do I want to invite, how do I position it to my readers. But we now have a product which is called Credit Strong at BankBazaar, and we are delivering millions of customized videos which is tailored to your credit risk profile. So anyone listening to this call, everyone has a different credit report, right? So we all came to that number we're at today. Let's say I'm at 700 today. We all came to that 700 via a different spot. Someone came to 700 from 720, someone came from 680, someone came from 670. Even the 2 people or the 100 people who came from 680, one came there by paying off their car loan on time. One came there by paying their credit card on time. But imagine millions of customized AI generated videos that will analyze your credit report and tell you exactly what you're doing well, what you need to improve, or what you're doing badly, and helping you fix errors if they're visible in your credit score. Now, in a non-AI world, right, Priya, this is unthinkable, right? We can't produce a million videos, let alone a million videos. We can't even produce 100 videos a month, right? But a million videos are now getting generated and delivered to a consumer, customized in exactly the way they want. And this would not have been possible in a non-AI world. So now we're coming to a situation, right, where AI is not about improving efficiency, but AI is about how do I deliver a better product to a consumer? And the kind of questions you can ask yourself are completely different from what you were asking yourself in the non-AI world. And I'll just make one statement and pause. Now you're asking yourself, right, how does every single consumer who pays for a BankBazaar Credit Strong product, how do we deliver them the exact customized experience that they value and are happy to pay for, right? Which could never have been asked in a non-AI world.
That was so powerful, Adil, and it really highlights how AI is no longer just a back-end efficiency tool. It's becoming so central to how financial decisions are actually made. And I think in a country like India, where digital adoption has scaled so rapidly, the volume and diversity of data being generated is unprecedented. And I believe AI is uniquely positioned to unlock value from this data, whether it's enabling more personalized financial products or improving credit accessibility or even redefining risk assessment models. So, building on that, I would like to explore, how I want to touch down on the personalized services aspect. In terms of wealth and asset management, again, the use of AI has grown exponentially. While many financial services and wealth management firms have started using generative AI in their daily operations, there is still a lack of AI software designed specifically for financial services. And of course, with the AI integrated into the different verticals of financial services, AI can also be used to streamline and expedite a wide range of processes. So, in the context of wealth management, how is AI enabling more personalized financial advice for investors across different income segments?
Yeah, great question, right? And wealth management or registered investment advisor is a regulated industry in India. So, one requires a license to do it. And also now, the Ministry of Electronics and IT has certain guidelines on AI, both in terms of explainability, no bias, and I guess we'll, touch upon that. But let me just focus on the area of AI in wealth management first, right? What the potential applications are. So, AI does well when there's a lot of data available in terms of guiding it. Now, we're moving to a world also, and I want to call this out, where organizations are building tools, but the ease of building tools is increasing dramatically. So, for example, even 6 months ago, if you wanted to build AI to give personalized chat advice to a consumer, you probably required to do some level of a backend understanding of APIs, configuration engine, so on and so forth. Now, with coworks coming out, right, the ease at which tools can be built for AI, for marketing, for personalization, for chatbots, everything is dramatically increasing. So there's a backend sequence that's kicking in where the kinds of tools that an Anthropic is putting out right now, especially with coworks, right, is changing the enabling foundation very, very fast. Now, when it comes to wealth management, I was on a TV show recently, and there was a well-respected personal finance advisor, wealth advisor, who was saying that they would still want to talk to a human before they took a decision on money, because money is so important, right? Now, we ended the show with two different perspectives. So the wealth advisor who'd been doing this for 2 decades felt very, very strongly that, you need that human understanding, you need that human contact. Where I left off, right, is I said that I can understand that there are particular use cases which are very customized. You're maybe looking at some kind of alternate investment. You're looking at something which is maybe private equity based, maybe one particular company. But I said that when you're looking at wealth management from, let's say, a mutual fund perspective, or looking at wealth management from an area where, the data is very large, the boundaries are, quite reasonably laid out by the regulator. What I felt is a customized wealth advisor can probably give a level of personalization which many people can't afford for a human. So I'll give you a common example. So let's say someone is investing a large amount of money, right? You probably can call your wealth advisor. Your wealth advisor will say, okay, put 20% in a index fund, put 30% in large cap, 10% in a small cap. So they'll advise you. But there are millions and millions of people out there, right, who can't get a trained and seasoned wealth manager to sit down and advise them. And here's where I think the power of AI and customization comes in, right? So from a advice perspective, what the AI can do is it can analyze saying, what are your goals? Are you saving for your daughter's education? In which case, how many years do you have left? If you have more than 5, 10 years, index funds work very well for you. Equity funds work very well for you. Or are you saving to put a down payment on a house in 1 year? In which case, you probably shouldn't take the risk of the market. Let's go in on short-term mutual funds, or let's go in on a liquid mutual fund. So the AI, right, for millions and millions of individuals can very easily be able and trained to apply the right set of rules. A, understand you, ask you the right questions. B, basis understanding you, create a set of mutual fund portfolios which match your timelines, your growth goals, your return goals. And C, right, recommend that to you. And lastly, enable and complete that transaction via whatever purchase engine that's already running online. So I think the power of AI in wealth management is taking this customization and democratizing it, saying they're not just a few 100,000 people in India who make more than 50 lakhs a month who can get customized advice, but take it down to absolutely anyone, even with 20 rupees to invest, and give them that customized tool and recommend a personalized service to them. That I believe is the value in the wealth management side.
Very, very well said, Adil. And for the longest time, we have always seen AI, about analyzing data and figuring out, unlocking insights from that data. But today, it's also, factoring in behavioral patterns, risk appetite, spending habits, and even life goals to deliver advice that feels far more human and intuitive. It's almost like having a digital financial friend or an advisor that evolves with you in real time. Great. Moving ahead, Adil, when we talk about India, I think India having a diverse set of population, again, you have different classifications. People are living in urban areas, tier one, tier two cities, and not to forget the rural areas as well. So, financial inclusion is pivotal driver of socio-economic growth, which empowers individuals and businesses to fully participate in the economy. And for India, a nation on the cusp of exponential growth towards, the Viksit Bharat mission, enhancing financial inclusion is not just important, I think it's very much essential. Now, a cornerstone of this achievement is the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which was launched back in 2014. It has now facilitated the opening of over 54 crore bank accounts. So I think this initiative has been instrumental in bringing previously unbanked populations into a very formal financial system, marking a significant leap from 53% to nearly 80% of the population now having bank accounts. Again, India still has a large population which has a limited access to, traditional financial advisory services. How do you think AI will play a role here in democratizing financial intelligence?
Yeah, let's pick up from what you just said, all which were good data. If you look at the Jan Dhan Yojana, it's opened up over 500,000 new bank accounts. Now, the good thing is on UPI, it's very popular, and many people are very comfortable, right? Whether you're in a big city, whether you're in a town, in a rural area, and people are very comfortable scanning and paying with the QR code. Now, I think we're at that cusp where we've done a great job in terms of enabling 80% of our population with bank accounts, getting them comfortable with using UPI. Now, the question comes, right, is what is the next stage if you come to financial inclusion? Most people would say, right, that the next stage, once you know how to pay and you have a bank account and, you're comfortable, at least, making sure your money is coming in and going out properly. The next stage is access to credit, right? So let's say, you run a small business, you need to buy something at the beginning of the month, and then you sell it in 10 days, and then you're able to pay back that loan. Credit now becomes the next stepping stone. That is now the most important in terms of taking financial inclusion to the next level. Just to give you an example, outstanding credit, private credit in India as a function of GDP is approximately 60%, right? So the outstanding credit in India on GDP, private credit is 60%. This ratio in the marker of OECD developed countries is at 150%. Now, one might argue saying, should we be at 150% or not? But clearly, everyone agrees that 60% needs to increase for people to have access to business loans, for people to have access to educational loans, for people to access to have the right kind of credit. Now, how do we do that, right? AI has a tremendous role to play. And I'll talk about two roles AI has to play, and I'm going to work with prior examples so it's easily understandable. So remember I said that at BankBazaar today, we're able to give you a personalized credit score advisor that's fully AI based. So the reason you're getting that video, the reason, you're able to talk to an AI advisor almost in the way that you would talk to a psychologist or a shrink for your mental health, right? The reason is AI is providing that engagement. So AI provides that advisory engagement layer. Then I'm going to touch upon the transaction layer. So remember I told you that today a bank officer has to watch your video KYC. Now, the minute a bank officer has to watch your video KYC, two, three things happen, all right? So the first thing is you've got to do this during working hours. Secondly, right, you have to have a pretty high bandwidth for a bank officer to see you hold up a PAN card and to legibly read the PAN card and see the photo on that PAN card. Now, it's very difficult, given how PAN cards look in India, for us to get a clear read on that photo. And a lot of KYCs, video KYCs fail for that. Now, what AI can do, right, is it can bring this to an agentless VKYC. So what do I mean? Your Aadhaar and your PAN are matched. I should be able to verify that the person I'm watching on the video and the Aadhaar photo are the same, which an AI system can easily take care of. I have to verify that you're live. I can do that by just showing a secret OTP on the screen and you have to repeat it. Or if there is a disability and you're not able to repeat the OTP for whatever reason, I can ask you on the call, the AI can ask you to move your head up, to the left, down randomly, right? To establish liveliness. The point I'm getting, right, is AI can go into every single process when it comes to financial inclusion, starting from the advice, the engagement, the personalization, to the transaction verification, identity, validity, to post-transaction advice, tell you to pay on time, increase your credit score. So, it plugs into every single stage and can take India to the next level, which is why I'm really, really, a big believer that a Digital India 2.0 policy reform, regulatory reform, can take us from where we are, which is already leadership, but then take us to a level, right, that takes us to, per capita GDP moving from $2,800 per person to 10x that.
Very well said, Adil, and thank you for sharing how AI can move financial guidance from being a privilege to becoming a public utility. And I think the shift here from exclusivity to accessibility, where intelligence is no longer confined to high net worth individuals or just urban centers, but it can reach anyone with a smartphone. And what's also interesting is how this democratization could fundamentally change the overall financial confidence in the country. Because when people have access to timely, contextual, and unbiased insights, they are more empowered to make financial decisions rather than the reactive ones. But on the other hand, I think this also raises an important layer of responsibility, ensuring that these AI driven systems are transparent, inclusive, and designed with trust at their core. Because at the end of the day, financial intelligence isn't just about access, it's about enabling better outcomes for millions who have traditionally been left out of the system. So, having said that, because when you talk about finance, it carries, it's crucial information is being carried out. So, it carries high stakes. How can financial organizations ensure that when they're deploying AI or, thriving on AI driven insights, how can they ensure it's transparent, explainable, and trustworthy?
Right. So like you rightly pointed out, I think AI is a powerful tool, right? But it's a powerful tool when used with the right guardrails. And before I get into a little bit of a technical answer, because the Ministry of Electronics and IT has put out 7 guardrails or sutras of AI, which include, preventing bias, explainability, so on and so forth. But I'll just give you a easy example in terms of why organizations have a serious responsibility, like you pointed out. If you ask your AI to help you on any subject, it will help you, right? And I'll just give you 2 examples. Let's say that you're in a conflict or in a fight with someone. It could be professional, could be personal, and the AI without any guardrails, you say that, hey, I'm in this situation, I want this, the other person is saying this. What I've found, right, the AI will tend to support you, saying that you're right, the other person shouldn't have done this, you are justified. But in reality, right, when you read the science and psychology, the actual way to deal with a conflict is to actually take, what is called a third party view, right? So you say that, okay, a neutral third party would say, this is what I said was right. This is what the other person is saying, which is right. And how do we first understand each other and try and move forward, solving each other's concerns? But the AI would not have done that naturally, right? But you can obviously set guardrails. You can say that, please use the work by psychologist Ellie Finkel or use the work by Dr. Gregory Walton and help me deal with this conflict situation in such a way that's appropriate. And the AI will do it. So it needs to be guided and trained, right? Same thing can happen with medical issues. Someone in your family is not well, you can consult with an AI, but clearly it doesn't replace a qualified doctor doing an examination and so on and so forth. So when it comes to AI, right, what the MITI guideline says is you have to ensure that the training data has no bias. You have to ensure that it's explainable. The person has to understand why that wealth product was recommended, right? So for example, I have to tell you that, hey, you wanted your money in 1 year to put a down payment on a house. In 1 year, the equity markets can be fairly volatile. Hence, for the lowest risk, I'm recommending a liquid mutual fund. If you have a slightly higher risk appetite, I'm recommending a short-term debt fund, and so on and so forth. So the AI has to be and should explain to the user why it is recommending those particular wealth products, right? And the organization at the end of the day carries the liability, right? For example, there are very strict rules saying the AI has to be stored, the data has to be stored in India, right? The AI has to be running in such a way that it doesn't bring any bias to play. So all of these 7 responsibilities that the Ministry of Electronics and IT has put out. Now, that responsibility falls squarely on the organization. The organization can't say, oh, the AI did it. No, the AI is not liable. The organization using the AI is liable, and the organization has to follow the 7 principles of AI that Government of India is establishing, and specific regulators like RBI has its own pre-AI guideline, which match and preceded the MITI guidelines. So you have to follow whatever regulatory guideline is there for your industry.
Yes, definitely. I think that makes a lot of sense, Adil. And we need to ensure that regulations are in place in order to ensure that we are able to leverage full potential and advantages of AI without affecting the ethics and morality aspect when deploying these technologies. And I think AI is positioned to be transformative with advancements that promise to reshape the industry in profound ways. And as technology continues to evolve, banks and financial institutions are expected to leverage AI to deliver even more personalized and efficient services. Having said that, Adil, one last question is, in the coming years, probably over the next 5 years, which financial segments you think will experience the most disruption from AI?
That's a good question. The closest I've seen to a scientific report which exactly answers what you just asked, right, is Anthropic had put out really nice chart a couple of weeks ago, which says these are all the industries in the economy and what can AI substitute and what is AI doing today. And they were using real data as to what AI is doing today because as the makers of Claude, right, they have exact usage patterns with them. And what they ended up with is, let's say, management, financial services, media, we're all going to be highly impacted by AI, 90%, right? While services like construction, nursing would be impacted much, much less. Hospitality by AI. Now, you're asking me a question that's a bit more specific, right? So you're saying that, okay, within financial services, can you give us the same answer across the various industries, right? See, to be completely honest, right? It's a rapidly evolving time. All organizations today are wondering and using and figuring out where is AI going to help them, right? I give you examples of we at Bank Bazaar have created a new product which could never have been built without AI, which is our Credit Strong product, where over 1 million customized videos, which people are paying monthly for, right? Help them improve their credit score. AI is transforming collections. AI is transforming the call center. AI is transforming how marketing works. So it's such a rapidly evolving time, Priya, that it's hard for me to give you the way Anthropic answered their question so scientifically, saying this is the potential, this is what's happening today. It's a little hard for me to say, saying between banking, between mutual funds, between wealth, between insurance, right? But I feel, right, all of them are going to be very deeply impacted by AI. The way the industry is going to look like 5 years from now is quite different from where it looks now. I think humans will have a role, but the role is going to be influenced deeply by AI. If you're a developer, you're going to be an AI-enabled developer. If you're a call center manager, you're going to be managing a lot of AI and make sure that there's no bias, that quality is maintained. If you're an advisor on the ground, right, you probably have an AI training you before every meeting, telling you, what needs to be done with the client. So I think it's going to transform dramatically. I think I'm also curious, like you, to see how the next 2 years play out.
Definitely, Adil. And I think, given the fact that India is accelerating towards a digital mindset, and also considering the STEM population in India stands at 2.5 lakhs per annum, there is no denial for future of banking revolution to ride on the back of AI. Visibly, as efficiency rises, AI will have a tangible and optimistic influence on banking. And I think when we will, of course, see more integration of AI in the banking operations. The overall industry will become more agile, customer centric, and even secure. Thank you so much, Adil, for taking all the time and effort to be on a podcast today and helping us understand that by leveraging these emerging technologies, not just AI, but also automation or agentic AI and even data analytics, I think India can deepen meaningful financial engagement, improve the financial literacy overall, enhance resilience, and continue its journey toward global leadership in inclusive finance. Thank you so much, Adil, for your insights. It was lovely chatting with you.
Welcome, Priya. I enjoyed it too.
Thank you so much. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around AI in the financial landscape, and the future of AI in banking isn't about just technological progress. It's about creating a more intelligent and inclusive financial ecosystem that benefits everyone. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, and you can view all our previous episodes on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.